your why comes from your past. Everybody has a why. Every individual has a why. It's our God-given right. It is who we are.
Contrary to popular belief, the wealthy, they put their pants on the exact same way you and I do. What allows them just to start and get in the game? 5 concepts and beliefs that the wealthy use just to get started.
And it is basically an origin story. That's what a why is. So it's the sum total of how we were raised, the things we learned from our parents that made us who we are today. And there's no changing who we are. All that we can do is either be in balance or out of balance. So when you do things inconsistent with who you are, people say things like, it's like I don't know who you are anymore, right? Think of a why like the foundation of a house. It's solid, and everything else gets built on top of that. So if you suffer some sort of tragedy or trauma and things get knocked down, you rebuild on the same foundation. Ancient ruins, we lose the buildings, we always have the foundation. It's the thing we build upon, it's who we are. And the same goes for our businesses. Our businesses have a why. It's why we started them. Most of us who start businesses, there's a reason to take that overwhelming risk of failure. There's a reason that feels worth it, right? That it's worth the sacrifice and the hard work. And it's not just because I want to be my own boss, because sometimes being your own boss is not worth all the extra effort. And sometimes you don't even make as much money. There's something that drives somebody to want to own their own business. That origin story, that reason that compelled you, is the why. So the why comes from the past. It's a foundation we build upon. It is objective. A just cause is about the future. It's about where we're going. It's subjective. We can build any future we want. We can decide the future we want to build and head towards it. Can you change your just cause? I guess you can. I wouldn't change it too often because then you're a moving target. You can't change your why, the foundation of the house, but you can change the paint on the house, you can change the shutters, you can change if you want to be a big or small house, you can change it at any time, but you still want it going in the same direction built upon that foundation.
You're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. Because if it's a habit, I can teach you to use science to break it. You see, I always thought procrastination had to do with the thing I was procrastinating around, right? Like that procrastination has something to do with work. Believe it or not, procrastination has nothing to do with your work. Procrastination is a form of stress relief. And so you walk in and you sit down and you know you got 13 phone calls you need to make. And you also know that you've been chickening out, you've been making easy calls, and there's a bunch of CIOs or other people that are higher level that you haven't been calling. And so as you sit down to do it, you got the stress on your shoulders, your brain starts to go, wait a minute, you want me to make a call to somebody that I'm scared to make? Absolutely not. I'm so stressed out about it. Can we just watch some cat videos for a minute? And next thing you know, an hour's gone by. And then, of course, what do? You beat yourself up. So the only way that you can break this habit, and that's an important word for you to hear, you're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. Because if it's a habit, I can teach you to use science to break it. You see, all habits have 3 parts. There's a trigger, and in the case of procrastination, the trigger's always stress. Then there's a pattern you repeat, and in the case of procrastination, it is to avoid doing something. And then there's a reward. You get a little stress relief. The only way to break a habit, you guys, is not to deal with the triggers. You're never going to get rid of the stress in your life, but you can 100% change your pattern of avoiding work. So next time that you're in a situation where you feel yourself hesitate, you spent way too much time checking out the highlights from last night's scores, what you're going to do is you're going to go, oh, I must be stressed out about something. Acknowledge the stress. Then go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to count to yourself because I want you to interrupt the habit that's stored here, and I want you to awaken your prefrontal cortex. Then I want you to just work, just for 5 minutes. The reason why I want you to only work for 5 minutes is because your problem isn't working. It's the habit of avoiding. I just need you to start. And here's the other cool thing. We know based on research that if we can get you to start, 80% of you are going to keep going.
if you can view yourself acting in a courageous and forthright manner and encountering the world and trying to improve your lot and taking risks, in a non-naive way, well, then you have something that you can comfort yourself with at night when you're wondering what the whole damn point of your futile and miserable life. And that's necessary, because it's often the case that you wake up at 4 a.m, or at least sometimes the case that you wake up at 4 a.m. when things haven't been going that well, and wonder just what the hell the point is of your futile and miserable life. You have to have something real to set against that. It can't be just rationalizations about how, you're a valuable person among others, even though that's true. That's not good enough. You need something that's more realistic to set it against that. And observing courage in yourself is definitely one of the things that can help you sleep soundly at night when things are destabilized a little bit around you. If you go into the land of the stranger, which is exactly what you do when you try out any new endeavor, right? When you start a new job, or when you start a new educational enterprise, or when you start a new relationship, doesn't matter. You're out there in unexplored territory. Like, the physical geography is the same, but we don't live in the spatial world only. We live in the temporal spatial world. And what that means is that the same place can be different at a different time. I mean, it can be completely different. And so if you're in your house, but you have a new person in your house, well, your house is new for all intents and purposes, because the territory surrounding that new person is the territory of the foreigner, essentially. And the same thing happens to you when you start a new job. And you'll find that when you start a new job, especially if you stretched yourself a little bit beyond your zone of comfort, that you very much feel like an imposter, right, when you're first there. And then the question is, well, how do you master that? And the answer to that seems to be, well, it seems fairly straightforward. If the place that you're in has any degree of possibility, if it isn't inhabited by demons, so to speak, the best way to act is to lift your aim upward and attempt to get your act together and to tell the truth and to live a meaningful life and to do difficult things, all of that. And that is the best way of mastering a new territory. And in all probability, the degree to which you're able to act that out is precisely proportionate to the degree to which you're going to become a master in that territory.
You would never succeed more than you fail. That's not how it works. You know why? Because failure is a wonderful teacher. It's the only way to learn. You have to fail. Failure is a part of the process to becoming successful. I tell people this all the time. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player in the world, he took 946 game-winning shots. 946 times since he was in high school, the ball has been in his hand to take the game-winning shot with no time on the clock. He has only made 146 of those. He has missed over 700 times, but he has made 146. You know what they write about? When you make it. They write about when you make it. So guess what? When you get through failing, all you gotta do is make one. All you gotta do is make one. I've had in my career probably a total of, I've been to over 200 pitch meetings to pitch ideas in Hollywood. Out of those 200, they have picked 5 of them. 200 meetings, 200 show ideas, they've picked 5 of them. But you know what them 5 was? Hits. So you know what they made me? A star. I only had 5. I only hit 5. The rest of the shows I had somebody thought of and asked me to be on the show, and I might have turned it into a hit. But I've only been picked 5 of my ideas got picked. In 33 years. 5.
You want to have more joy and satisfaction at work, you need to engage it differently. Even when it sucks. How many of you have had like 3 months of doing suck work? Anybody just like the last 3 months, you're like, God, this sucks. Anybody? Yeah, you should celebrate that. Say, that's me! It's totally okay when you have suck work sometime. How do you engage with it? Because what most people do, they hate it. They hate the struggle. They hate the suck. But if you ever work with elite army people, they have this great saying, right? Especially the Green Berets, I love that saying. They say you have to embrace the suck. And I was like, ooh, that's good, guys. You got to embrace the suck. Because you know what? If you avoid it or you hate it, look, anything you pour hate on grows into a monster. Anything you grow hate on. If you hate taking out the garbage, guess what taking out the garbage is to you now? A monster. It's just garbage. But you hate taking out the garbage, so now it becomes a thing to you and your spouse. The garbage became a monster between you and your spouse. Really? It's because someone applied hate on that garbage, right? You apply hate to anything, it grows into a monster. You hate the commute to work, and you got to do it every day. How does that feel? You hate doing email, and you got to do it every day. How does that feel? You hate bringing that topic up with your spouse. How does that feel? You got to be really careful. We got into a society where hate is such a casual word, and people just, oh, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this. Oh, I hate this line at Starbucks. You hate the line at Starbucks. Hate. Really? Then how does that feel, having to wait 3 people deep for your caramel macchiato or thingy? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not allowed to drink much caffeine. Could you imagine? Oh my God. Full engagement. You have to be present and again and fully engage what you are doing. Really embrace it. Remember, I was in the cage life, so what did I want to do? I wanted to escape reality. The charged life, high performance, boom, embrace that. Pull it in, own it. It's your life, you built it. Engage it, because if you don't engage, that means you're disengaged. And you cannot turn a crank and change something when it's disengaged.